Good morning. Today we are talking about tourism in Montana, and we are presenting as if you were a tourist in Montana. Today I will try to enunciate, but I will talk a little quicker because you can pause the video and rewatch if you miss anything. So you're welcome to watch the YouTube video below. This is a really nice video that shows a lot of western Montana in the mountains and the lakes, and is a really good way to show how beautiful Montana is and why you should be a tourist there. So there are so many things to do in Montana, but here are some places that you should visit. So on the map here is Montana. Down here, this is Bozeman. So this is the big town that I am from. So you definitely need to visit Bozeman. Also Three Forks, right here, Three Forks in Belgrade. Down here, Virginia City. This is an old ghost town. We'll dive into some activities you can do in Virginia City. Definitely need to go to Missoula. Missoula is where there is a very large university as well. Up here in the north in Whitefish, you definitely need to see Whitefish. It's beautiful. That's where Glacier National Park is. And finally, Great Falls is the last place that we will visit. Everywhere in Montana is beautiful. Everywhere is worth the visit. But these are the ones that you must visit if you are going to Montana. So first, Missoula, you ought to visit a carousel for Missoula. So this carousel has a lot of places to sit, including 38 horses and 2 chariots. This is a very famous carousel within Montana because it was the first one completely built by hand in the United States after the Great Depression. So this is a very, very large tourist attraction where many people go if you are in Missoula, especially small kids and families usually visit the carousel for Missoula. My favorite part of Missoula is the Kettle House Amphitheater. So you should definitely go to a concert at the Kettle House Amphitheater if you can. There are many concerts here every summer. In the winters, it's a little more difficult because, as you can see, it is an outside amphitheater. So there is no covering, there is no building. It's completely outside. And so in the winters in Montana, it's a little more difficult to host a concert because it might snow or it will rain or it is windy. And so the most popular time for the Kettle House Amphitheater concerts are in the summers. Several of my favorite bands have played at the Kettle House Amphitheater, and it is the coolest venue that I have ever attended a concert at, because this is your backdrop. This is what you see when you're at the Kettle House Amphitheater venue. You see the band, of course, and you see all of the people, but behind the band is this mountain and these trees and the river, and it is absolutely beautiful. So if you are in Montana, if you are in Missoula for the summer, try and go to a concert at Kettle House Amphitheater. Three Forks. So there aren't a lot of things to do in Three Forks. However, you can do the 2 best things. So in Three Forks, in the summers, you must attend a rodeo. Few people don't go to the rodeos every year because as they are a huge event. So few people don't go to the rodeos every year, which means many people go to the rodeos every year. This is a very large event. This is a very traditional Montana event to attend because we see things like this picture behind. where people are riding horses, people are riding bulls, and uh, there's many different events within a rodeo that you can see. So it's very, very particular. It's very special, um, and it is obligatory. You must go to a rodeo if you are in the summer, if you are in Montana for the summer. And there are rodeos in Three Forks, but they are also throughout Montana as well. So you should be able to find a rodeo if you are in Montana for the summers. Also in Three Forks, you ought to try a pastry from Wheat Montana Bakery. This is a very famous bakery in Montana because everything is made in Montana. So wheat uh, is what is in flour, and so the wheat that makes the pastries and makes the bread is from Montana. So everything is local. Everything is mined, is fabricated from Montana. So it's a very special place. It's very local. Um, they have so many pastries. They have too many to choose from. But of course, I'm sure that you will be able to pick your favorite at Wheat Montana. However, their cinnamon rolls right here, these are the most famous pastries that Wheat Montana sells. So this is a large pan of cinnamon rolls. Um, and this is how big they are. So this is a man's hand uh, next to the cinnamon roll, and it is huge. I remember when I was about 10 years old, I bought a cinnamon roll. I was with my mom, and I bought a cinnamon roll, and I remember holding it up to my face, and it was bigger than my face. It was huge, and they are so, so delicious. They have cinnamon and icing, which is like sugar and water, and the dough with a really nice glaze on top, nice icing. They are absolutely delicious. I wish I could eat one right now, but you must and you ought to try a cinnamon roll from Wheat, Montana in Three Forks. Great Falls. So there are few things to do in Great Falls. It's a pretty small town, uh, but there are a few things to do. So to begin with, you must eat a cheeseburger at Ford's Drive-In. This is the best burger you will ever eat in your whole life. It is absolutely delicious. Um, it's my favorite burger I have ever eaten, and it's very classic. So a drive-in, as you can kind of see, this is where you put your car, you drive up to the restaurant, you stay in your car, and someone comes to the window, to your car window. They take your order, and then they go back and they come back to your car with your food, and you eat in your car, or you can go home and eat at home. But so you drive in, that's why it is called a drive-in. You drive into the restaurant and you are served in your car. You never get out of the car. And this is a very classic, like 1950s type of restaurant. And so this restaurant, Ford's Drive-In, was actually created in 19, like I think 1952 ish, around there. So it's a very old restaurant. Um, it is absolutely delicious. I actually have driven many hours just to eat a Ford's Drive-In burger. So my house in Bozeman is about 3 hours away from Great Falls. And I have driven 3 hours to Great Falls. I have eaten the burger at Ford's Drive-In, and then I drive back home to Bozeman for another 3 hours. And it is worth it. It is so delicious. Um, and I wish I could eat a Ford's Drive-In burger right now. They are absolutely delicious. You must eat a cheeseburger at this diner. Also in Great Falls, this is a very famous restaurant. It's been on diners, drive-ins. Oh, I can't remember the name. It has been on a very famous show in the US where this guy goes to different restaurants. So this is called the Sip and Dip, um, that you should visit in Great Falls. So while you are eating your lunch or your dinner, while you are maybe, if you are 21 years old or older, if you are drinking a beer or something at the bar, you see mermaids behind the bar. So they are really swimming. They are swimming underneath. You'll see them go up, you'll see them come back down. But they have a couple of mermaids that swim behind the bar every day, all day long. So that's the Sip and Dip, and you should definitely visit if you are in Great Falls. Okay, next up we have Virginia City. So this is also of course, very famous town within Montana. So in Virginia City, there are many things to do, plenty of things to do, since it is an old ghost town. So a ghost town is somewhere that was very, very popular back in the old days, back in maybe the 1800s, early 1900s. But now it is vacant. So there's no one that actually lives in there. So that's called a ghost town. So Virginia City is a very famous ghost town, especially in Montana. And so there's plenty of things to do. It's very much of a tourist destination. And so a lot of these things are to bring tourists into Virginia City to experience maybe what life was like when people lived in Virginia City. So this is a very popular activity. This is getting your picture taken, uh, where you get to dress up in old clothes. So all of these people, they're all young people of today, but they're wearing clothes that are from, 1800s, 1900s. They have these long rifles that are not very customary to carry anymore. This is a bag of money down here. We have some whiskey bottles. Um, so this is a very popular activity. I myself have actually not done this activity, but if you go to Virginia City, you could do this activity, and it's very popular. So you should check this out if you go to Virginia City. Next, in Virginia City, my two favorite activities. You ought to, you must, you should, all of the above. You ought to eat fresh taffy. So this picture is fresh saltwater taffy. I'm actually not sure why they call it saltwater taffy, but this is the machine that pulls the taffy. So it's a type of candy. It's very stretchy. It's kind of like gum, kind of like chewing gum, but these arms working to pull the taffy. So this arm, that's like this thing, this arm comes down and intersects the taffy here, pulls up, kind of like a figure eight form. So it's just constantly pulling the taffy, and pulling the taffy makes it really soft. And delicious. So one time I ate fresh taffy in Virginia City when I was about maybe 9 years old, and that is why I love taffy today. I think the memory associated with the taffy is really fun, and it just tastes so delicious every single time that I eat it. And there's many different flavors too. So this one might be bubblegum or peach or something, but there's every flavor you can think of. There's chocolate and vanilla and raspberry and mint, caramel. I mean, any flavor you can think of, there's a saltwater taffy flavor for it. You can also mine for gold. So mining for gold means to find the gold, to take out the gold from the earth, presumably. So you can mine for gold, but you might not find any. There's a chance that you might find some, and there's a chance that you might not find any gold. But it's a very popular activity. These are a bunch of kids that are mining for gold. So you have your pan, you have this pot, this pan, and you dip it into the river, and you come up, and there's a bunch of rocks inside of the pan, a bunch of little small rocks. And so you put it in the river, and then you shake it like this so all the water goes out, and then you have to look within your bowl to see if you have any gold in there. And if you find any gold, you get to take it home with you. So it's a very fun activity, especially if you're younger, but nevertheless, it's fun to do whether you find gold, and it's fun to do even if you are a little older as well. Whitefish. So Whitefish is a beautiful city, beautiful town, and there are a bunch of things to do in Whitefish. A bunch, there's many, there's a lot, there's a bunch of things to do in Whitefish. So first of all, you must visit Glacier National Park, and you must follow my recommendations from last time that I was in class with you, where we talked about, the different hiking you can do. You can do kayaking, what you must bring with you when you are in Glacier National Park. So you definitely must go to Glacier National Park if you are in Whitefish, because you could hike and you could see a view like this that is just absolutely incredible. It's difficult to believe that it is even real. These are all mountains in the background. These are all the Rocky Mountains, and this is a big lake down here. So this is in Glacier National Park, and if you go, you must go, but if you go, you can see this in Glacier. So it's absolutely wonderful, and it's just a few minutes from Whitefish by car. Later on in Whitefish, you could go kayaking if you wanted to on Whitefish Lake. So this is Whitefish Lake down here. Again, you have these huge, beautiful mountains in the background. The lake is crystal clear. You can put your hand in and you can see your hand completely. It's like there's no water there. It's absolutely incredible. Very nice. It is a little chilly. It's a little cold. So you need to make sure that you must be wearing the appropriate clothes. You should definitely bring a jacket, bring sunscreen, all of that to kayak on Whitefish Lake. And then eventually, if you are in Whitefish, if you have extra time, you might go to the water park where you can ride water slides. So this is the water park. It's one of the biggest in Montana. You can see these slides up here and how they are very turny, twisty-turny, and come all the way down. There's the pink one, there's the white one, there's another really large blue water slide, and there's people everywhere. But because it's Montana, it's very cold in the winters, so the water park is only open during the summers, of course. But if you are there in the summers, you should definitely visit the water park in Whitefish. And finally, Bozeman. I saved the best for last. So Bozeman, again, that is where I am from. That is my city. And there are the most activities to do in Bozeman, the highest amount of activities to do in Bozeman, because it is the best, I think. So to begin with, you get to Bozeman, you should hike the M Trail. So the M Trail is just a hiking trail, but it starts down here. There's a parking lot down here, and you can hike two ways up to the M, okay? So you can see this trail, and you can hike straight up, just like this, straight up the mountain, and you can hike and you get to the M. Or the easier way is you can hike and you kind of go back and forth, and then you go back over into the trees, and then you finally cut across and get like this, and then you reach the M. So the M is a very stereotypical hike to do in Bozeman. The M is for Montana State University. That is the large university that is in Bozeman. And it's a very, very cool hike to do. Once you are at the M, at the base of the M, you can look out and you can see all of Bozeman from there. So it's a very good view of Bozeman and of the mountains and of some of the rest of Montana and the agriculture if you hike the M Trail, which you should do. And it's only a few kilometers long, so it's very short. It's a must do, a must see in Bozeman. After you hike the M, you could have breakfast at Jam Cafe. This is my favorite breakfast spot in Bozeman. And my favorite dish is the Eggs Benedict, which is right here, that has bread, avocado, and a poached egg, maybe some hash browns, and then a hollandaise sauce on top. And it is so good. It's very, very delicious. So that's my favorite dish, but there are many dishes to choose from. So I'm sure that you can find something that you would like. Finally, a few hours later, after breakfast, after you hike the M, a few hours later, you might walk down Main Street so that you can do some shopping. So this is our Main Street in Bozeman. It is my favorite place in the world. I love Main Street. Every time I go to Main Street, I walk all the way down and I walk all the way back because it is just really beautiful. It's very community centered. There's always something going on. There's always an event or a musician playing, and it's beautiful. Every single time you go, it's absolutely beautiful. So you might walk down Main Street, but you really should walk down Main Street. So this is our Main Street. These are the Bridger Mountains, part of the Rocky Mountains in the back. Rocky Mountains and Rocky Mountains. So you can always see the mountains in Bozeman. But this is our Main Street. And so you can do plenty of shopping here. There is a lot of shopping that you can do. At different types of stores, we have, antique stores, we have jewelry stores, art stores where you can go and purchase art, a lot of clothing stores, in addition to just basic local things. Like we're really famous for the huckleberry. It's a type of fruit. So you can go into a couple stores and buy huckleberry merchandise, huckleberry everything. Huckleberry taffy, huckleberry syrup, huckleberry cookies, anything you can think of. So you can also buy some of that on the Main Street in Bozeman. And then finally, the night is coming to an end. You are hungry. You need to find a restaurant. So there are some restaurants to choose from on Main Street in Bozeman. However, they are all delicious. So you can't go wrong. No matter what you choose, it will be delicious. There are plenty of options and they're all very local. It feels comfortable to be inside of the restaurants. It feels comfortable to walk on Main Street. And Yeah, so that is all I have for you. If you are a tourist in Montana, these are the things, these are the places that you need to visit. These are the things that you need to do while you are a tourist in Montana. And of course, if you have any other questions, feel free to please ask me. And I'm happy to advise you as always and give you my advice, give you my 2 cents. And I would love if you all came to Montana and we're all tourists because it is the best place on earth. It is my favorite place on earth, and it's definitely somewhere that is worth a visit for sure. So that is all I have. I hope you are all tourists in Montana one day, and I will see you all next week.